Hello, hello. Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good.
Yay. Welcome to my office.
Thank you.
This
I
is,
like the ocean behind you.
oh yeah, it's so cool. I wish I could reach up and show you it, but you can touch the waves like they're really bumpy.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and I haven't named it yet. This is my dragon tree.
Cool.
Um, I saw it in IKEA and it's like
Well,
you're
you can
mine.
see I have lots of plant
No, no.
friends. I've got some more down here as well next to me.
Oh, and it's also neat and tidy and full of love.
I hide it well.
The bits I can see. Is it just all behind the camera?
Yeah, and there's like a box of toilet rolls down there in the corner.
Oh, nice. Well, you never know.
Just don't have enough storage space. Hmm.
Well, thank you. So you are the first person to see my new office.
Nice.
Um, so it's so cool. The last time I used this headset was working at Amazon. So this feels like this is a lot. This feels a lot better.
Good.
I'm glad I emptied the room. There's nothing left. It's just all. It's just like you can't see Patch. He's just down to the side. But
Oh.
is he down there somewhere? Yeah, he's just down. Oh, you can't see him. Anyway, this is about you. Thank you for booking. You're the only first person to book a chat, and it was a request from a previous trainee. And yeah, I'd love to see. I mean, I've got lots of questions, but
Mm.
it's really up to you what you'd like to do with the time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just nice to talk to you. I'm really enjoying the course so far. I think mostly it's nice to just have dedicate the time, and really
Mhm.
focus on the meditations with a goal, and with that guidance.
Yeah,
hmm And yesterday, oh my God, the ringing in my ears was uncontrollable.
really.
Yeah. I was in my car just like, ah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot of Schumann rest. That's so funny. Look at that. It's on my phone at the same time. Um, there was a lot yesterday on the Schumann resonance, and
Yeah.
I'm so bad for just ignoring everything. And I had a migraine for a lot of yesterday, and that may also have been an effect. But
Yeah.
yeah, the other thing you can do is just ask, right? It's just ask your guys like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
what's this bringing? Um. And sometimes I do get, I describe it as either an attack or like an unwanted healing from someone, or
Mhm.
maybe they're even like sending me love, but going a bit far, and I just push that out if I've not given permission.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, and I couldn't sleep on Monday after that meditation either, so I needed to
Well,
some grounding practices.
yeah. Um, the if you get a chance to watch the podcast I did with Maria, I can't pronounce her second name, Montejo.
Mhm.
Um, Maria Montejo is indigenous and she lives in Canada, which I didn't realize they call or its original name was Turtle Island. And
Oh, wow.
she just really taught. It was really focused on a mindfulness podcast, and I wasn't expecting to go anything like particularly spiritual in it. Um, but very quickly we talk about the same things about what we experienced just the previous night in the Higherself Foundational Training, and it's like this is incredible. And she's talking about the indigenous tribes around the world coming together and helping lead in this space of us opening our hearts and reconnecting with nature, which is really beautiful. So yeah, if you get the chance to look at that, it felt very grounding and felt like there's people doing this. And then I had this kind of shocking feeling of like, you mean I'm gonna have to be part of? And it's like, yes, it's like all this is part of it, right? We'll look back in years to come with delight. It's how we were busy training ourselves for that
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about the shamanic work and the indigenous is like they are super galactic but so grounded.
Hmm.
Well, they are like completely grounded into the earth.
Yeah, and that is wonderful.
Yeah. They also live in the jungle, so they're
Yes,
surrounded by nature, and we're not.
that's right. We're like, look what I did. I got some nature. I found some.
True. We're working on
It's
it.
everything helps. And how? Well, I might just to share my impressions. Like you just seem so ready for the training. Like you're hungry and you're putting the time and effort in, and it's really lovely reading your feedback. I found that really refreshing. There's a lot of excitement in what you're doing, an exploration of the magic of whatever it is that's coming in each week. And so well done for that. And I feel like your progress as well is fantastic. I mean, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
In many respects, it's the most important thing is just surrendering to what you're going to experience because you don't know. Many of us find it easy to just get frustrated about, oh, I can't see something or I can't feel something or I've never met a spirit guide, but you're really open to what's coming through
Mhm.
because what's coming through is right for you at this time.
And every day is different for me. I found that some days I will get a guide coming in and telling, like having communication, and then the next day it'll just be like complete darkness and nothing.
Yeah,
I'm just like, okay, cool.
yeah,
It's fine. It is what it is. And I know because some days maybe I'm just too tired to receive that information. And
hmm
what I have been doing is, and I'll share this with you maybe towards the end of the course, is when I've
hmm
had a really powerful meditation, I've voice noted about it afterwards
nice,
so
yeah,
that then I can look back on it and have
hmm
all of those memories. Because sometimes also like physically writing can feel really difficult
yeah,
after meditation too.
yeah. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, I love that suggestion. And it's funny, I do that with my hi, it's John videos,
Yeah.
but everyone gets to do it differently, right? And yeah, I feel like anything you do where you're whether you're speaking out loud or whether you go into um writing it down, you're bringing it into this reality.
Yeah.
I'll just eject my son just one just 1 second.
Oh.
Nathan, say hello to Chloe. I
Hi.
I know Patch is very cute. I don't know if you can see
Oh
Patches
yeah.
Patches down there.
Getting the belly
He
rubs.
is he is adorable.
Oh.
Uh, you can stay if you're quiet, Nathan.
Yeah, so
Um,
I wanted to ask you, I think the question that I asked, but I can articulate it
mm,
more easily now that we're talking, is like, and I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to ask you from your experience as well.
mm,
And it's like when I do have experiences in meditation of meeting guides and the visuals of them, part of me is like, wow, this is amazing. And then the other part of me is like, is this just influenced from like Star Wars? And is this a
yeah,
character that I've already seen? So I'm just putting it together in my mind. So then I'm questioning myself.
yeah,
Then the kind of the higher perspective is like, well, Star Wars and all of these fantasies were created, from visions of galactic beings. So it's like
yeah,
it came from somewhere, right? So I don't know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to trust myself.
There's a few themes in there. Yeah, I think the first challenge is like self-doubt, right? Like, is any of this real? Am I just making it up? Is it just my imagination? And in many respects, that's what we're going through is a journey of trying to um, just let that go and allow ourselves to trust the safe space we create, right? So we're saying, well, I went to all this effort to create this, this room, this place. I'm going to the energy around it, and then what comes through because you're setting a clear intention,
Mhm,
you should, you can say it's okay. It's safe for me to you just close the door, Nathan. Thank you. That it's safe for me to just say what comes through, and it just is.
mhm,
Um, in terms of like other checks you can do, I mean, you can feel into the energy, right? Like, how did it feel for you? Because let's face it, the feeling is what's more real than anything, any other experience. Um, and I often reflect on that and journal on that feeling as well. Like I'll just say it out loud, like that just felt so powerful. Sometimes you get really simple messages like, your guide will just say something like love, and
Yeah.
you're like, and like you just filled my heart with love. It's like, oh wow, that is the best feeling ever. Um, or sometimes it'll be very visual, especially if you've asked and said, just could you show yourself? Which is how I started at the very beginning and wondered why they were so silent, and then switched to asking for messages. Um, and yeah, the similarities with other things, uh, other influences is really fascinating. Star Wars in particular, like I reflect on that a lot. Like when I look at, because I grew up with Star Wars and I was always so obsessed by it. Um, and it never occurred to me that it could be real in any shape or form.
Yeah.
Um, but that it just felt right, and it felt like a lot of things like about the Federation, and we could spend hours talking about Star Wars, but it just felt like there's a lot in here that feels like Earth at this time. And yeah, I agree with your point, which is all this creativity and influence comes from the same place. When you just relax into knowing that we're all one, it's easier to think that Yoda is actually an ascended master and
Yeah.
that his voice comes through a character in, a popular movie franchise. And that's just it.
Yeah.
And so when you meditate and you hear, you hear those voices or you see those beings that are similar, then yes, it probably is true if it feels right for you.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, the more I get to know the Federation, the more I see like this just very similar patterns. I don't know if the moon's the Death Star or not, but that jury's out.
I don't think
Maybe.
so. Yeah, that's good. It does, like, I kind of, my soul tells me that, but then obviously my mind is like, no, you're just replaying visuals that you've already seen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing I'm thinking of doing, I might put this into the foundational training or maybe share in a video as well, is like like a self-doubt list because I have a long list of self-doubts. Um,
Mhm.
and some of them are really funny. Like one is like people's spirit guides having the same name.
Uh-huh.
I worry that when I'm get told a name that everyone's going to have the same name. And
That's something that came up for me as well.
mhm. And I just like the doubt that they all start with A, and then I look back through some because I write up every session I do like some short notes and share them with the client, and I look back, it's like none of them, only one or two started with an A, but in mine, my mind is convinced, it's just like
Yeah.
it's like here we go again, John, it's another Avatar or whatever is the name, um, and other things. The other thing you can do is exploring from different perspectives. And when I started, I've done quite a few live streams before, but the first, when I kind of kick-started this thing again, doing Tuesdays and Thursdays now, it's doing like I do about 10 or 15 in an hour, and you're going through them so fast. It's a very different experience for me, and I get like my conscious mind gets the opportunity to even my quantum memory, as I call it, my lack of memory, gets to understand that everything is so different and it's so palpable because the energy shifts so dramatically with every person.
Yeah.
Um, and yet yesterday is with no exception. And I think that's another thing to do is to explore them from different angles. And for instance, if it's a guide that comes forward to you and maybe I don't know they look like um, a Wookiee or something, then you would say, great, like can you next time we meet ask them to come closer or ask them to tell them more about themselves. And we also do that in week 6 or 7. I can't remember which week, but we do meet them individually. Um, and Anita came up with this really simple idea of just creating this little it's a very human thing, like a little spreadsheet. And so you just like say, as you learn things about your guys, you just fill it in. You just say like, well, here's my if you draw like me, my 4-year-old sketch of what I think they look like, and then the name, and the name kind of changes a bit over time, and that can be a helpful human reference point. Um,
That's a good idea.
yeah,
Because I quite like visual things, so
I
yeah.
definitely I definitely put it up on my wall. And when new guides come in as well, it's helpful.
Yeah, because I've had an experience with three. so
Mm.
far. And the one that came through yesterday, who has been coming in really strong recently, is an Arcturian guide.
Oh, lovely.
That was my intuition, first of
Mm.
all, because they're a really tall being.
Mm.
So I asked them this time and it was just straight yes. And then I felt all of these like vibrations in
Yeah.
my body. So I was like, okay. And then I asked the name, and the name's Rubia. And it was a female guide this time. The other one was a male guide that I've met. Yeah, and she gave me this little box, and it
Mm.
was a box with a hummingbird in, and she said, "Put it in your throat because you're meant
Oh, wow.
meant to use your voice." Yeah, so that was beautiful.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, and I sense there's so much feeling in that too. Like you're also being led by what feels right, which is why you're asking the right questions because they feel like the right thing at the right time. Um, Sometimes I Google my guides and their origins, whatever, and it's really fascinating because I also have a bit of a reaction to it. I'm like, especially like Wikipedia, like you'd be looking at it going, I just doesn't that does not feel right for me. And other things like, that's interesting. Maybe I will, look into that. And some of the I describe our human habits are often like, especially if like you Google something and the internet says, their star system of this race is here, and then you're like, it kind of feels more like out here.
Mhm.
Like you tend to see that humans like to kind of center on cluster the knowledge and try and simplify. And actually, um, when you start to discover the true answers, and especially when you keep asking your guides for more clarity, the the concept of location and space and time is really quite different for them. And when you say like, but is it that one there? Is it that one in the sky there? Like, hello. Um, they're they'll say things like, well, 2 billion years ago, which is the light that you're looking at, it's just beyond that to the left in that area.
That's
But it's so much changes, and even the light that comes to us, that always blows my mind staring at stars or trying to explain it to your kids, is like what you're looking at is, a very ancient version of the universe. And when we connect, um, psychically through the quantum realms, we're doing it real time, um, which also blows my mind still constantly.
I love that though.
Yeah, it makes it very, very exciting. And yeah, it feels like actually a lot of the things I'm learning to do now are just keep asking the questions and asking the right next question for me, that I'll spend a bit of effort and energy, creating the question and listening to it. Like a client yesterday asked me about, I was doing an in-person session and they asked me about Antarctica. And it's like the kind of truther in me was like, I've never asked. I've never asked. Why did I never ask? Um, and yeah, that's a great way of being guided as well, is like finding the questions that resonate with you.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a good idea. Hmm. Nice. I don't know. I feel like I have so many questions, but they're just ongoing. I
Yeah.
guess I have a question actually about like guides, which is
Mhm.
obvious. Guides can be angels, they can be galactic beings, they can be ancestors. But then I want to ask about star family because I do believe that I have had lives on other planets.
Mhm.
And then that is just a whole nother thing as well. But
Yeah.
can you have a guide that is a like a star family member? Because I've had an
Yeah.
experience of meeting a guide who looked exactly like an experience that I've had of a
Mhm.
past life on another planet.
Yeah. So yes, in fact, expect the unexpected. Constantly allow your own mental models to be, flexible and fluid. Um, Over time, I've experienced both with, in client sessions and then also for myself, is there's some common patterns, like our guides, often. So the reason that, that you mentioned two things, a guide and then your own personal experience. Those two are often connected in that, you may have many, many guides and roughly about eight that are active right now. And then, so that guide has come forwards to you, and so has that experience. And it's because there's something about the two of you that is important.
Mhm.
And it can be because you were living together in the same time, that you were friends, that you were, in relationships or partners, or you just met. Sometimes just meet each other briefly, which is really funny as well. I've seen that in sessions. Um, but there's a purpose behind it, and it is often a simple way of connecting with it is like the kind of superpower that you both share. So they're often coming forwards at this time to help you with like you mentioned your throat chakra. So it could be about a specific part of you, and that they also had that
Mhm.
in that previous life that you know them from. And that those connections, they're almost like DNA signatures, like these cords that connect us through space and time, that make it the most efficient way and the easiest way for you to be able to have the remembrance and the reconnection, the activation, the healing, everything. Um, yeah, guides can also be human. It's funny, I deal with less human guides, but they're real too. And I've also experienced so I had a past life version of me that I went to the Akashic records and met. Usually I spend most of my time traveling through portals and things, but you can use the Akashic records too. And when connected with this previous version of me, after some time, it was maybe like a year or so later, um, they came forward as a guide for me, which I found so confusing. I was like, hang on, I think you're me. And like her name was Trinity, or her name is Trinity. And and then she appeared what I can only describe as now as a parallel life.
Mhm.
So now I see her most mornings for my morning run in a specific area near where I live. And yeah, that's another like aspect, is that to expect the unexpected and know that you can really be guided by any dimension of your guides and of you. And in many respects, I do know that our souls often group together in in tribes, which is
Yeah.
very difficult. Like it makes the family trees really hard, right? It's like a just a whole other multidimensional overlay of your family tree or your soul family tree. Um, but each time you connect with a guide, you can ask these questions like, where do I know you from? Why are you here in this lifetime to assist me? Um, and they can help explain some of the seemingly impossible, even based on the things I've just been describing. I feel like that'll just continue to change over time. Some people, for instance, do believe that our guides are part of us. Um, and I also think, especially the higher in vibration you get, it's like the kind of narrower the distance, the energetic difference between us. And some guides, like some of the highest vibration beings, like the highest, I call them the highest order of angels, and then
Mhm.
also the blue rays as examples. Like they're so high vibration, they come in and out of unity with source, and you're like, oh, that's my little human brain. I'm like, I find that hard. But I love the fluidity of it. And yeah, finding out your own truth, what feels right for you is such a big part of as you're doing as building your foundations.
Cool. It's exciting.
Yes.
Real life fantasy.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. One of the other students was just saying to me that, John, I study a lot of magic, and you'd be amazed how similar your course is to magic. And
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't really know what magic is, so I just don't read. But it's lovely to hear that there's similarities, and that does feel like much more like a job in Harry Potter than in Amazon.
Yeah, I like magic, and it is the same because you're working with energy in the quantum field, so
Hmm.
it's similar. Yeah. On
Definitely.
Venus, they all use magic, so.
Yes.
Hmm. Cool. Yeah,
Fabulous.
don't know if I've got any more questions.
Cool. Yeah, and just to say, feel free to share anything with me that you've journaled or whatever for your future self. I mean, I heard a lot of it, obviously, so it's optional to you if you want to do that. And yeah, next week will be shadow work.
Nice.
Yay! It's so funny. We'll get like I always expect higher attendance for the future self and less for shadow work. But yeah, it is a we're not going to solve everything in a week, but learning different techniques and especially the ones that are directly we've just done the future parts. Like what are the things, what are the shadows we need to address? And I'll get to share mine as well.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good because I know that like any time that you get over a shadow, like huge things happen and unfold. So it's all good.
That's right, yeah. And then you're always like, what's the next one? I don't know. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, nice.
Brilliant.
Thank
Well,
you for your time.
yeah, thank you. Yep. I'm just about to go into another session and then write training course material, which is great. I love doing the in bursts. Like I couldn't do it all week, but
Yeah.
yeah, I love it a day or two of it. I hope you've got a nice day planned ahead of you.
Yeah, I've got a couple of one-to-one clients in person today.
Yay.
Nice. Yeah, and then I've got couple of gaps in between where I'll just get some bits and pieces done.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy,
You
and
too.
I'll see you soon.
Bye, John.
Thank you. Take care. See you. Bye.